Hi, this is part 6 of the iRig series, and before I go on to show you the next bone, I want to show you what to do if you decide that you want to go back in and make another adjustment. So you're right here and you say, maybe I did want to do something different when I close the eyes. Maybe I want the lids at the top to go lower, for example. You go up to Window and then choose Actions. So then you click on Lids, for example. When you double click on that, you go into the Lids timeline again. And if I pull the scrub bar back, okay, I go to 100 and then I click on Lids and I can make an adjustment, such as perhaps I want to lower this top lid just a little bit. And now you can see I'm going to have to pull the mask down too. And I'll pull this one down a little bit. And then I have to go click on Mask. And there's the mask. And I'll pull it down. And I'll pull this mask down. All right? It'll make it look a little more natural. So that's what you do if you want to go in and make adjustments later on, if you've decided you want something different or to add something. Now I'm going to click back into the main timeline again. And we can test that if you want. I'm going to go to the main bone, click on Manipulate Bone, and you can see that that top of the lids lowers when the eyes close. Okay? Now let's see. The next bone we could do, we could do the eyebrow bone. And so let's go ahead and make sure you're on that top level of your bone for the character. And then we want to go in and we want to add a bone. Oh, before we do that, make sure your other bones are not selected. You don't want them attached or you're going to have a problem. Any bones that are selected, just click away from them to deselect them, and then choose your Add Bone tool, and I'll just hold my Shift key down, make a bone right here, click on the bone in the main menu, choose Make Smart Bone Dial, and I'll put in Brows, and click OK. Once again, that gets dark, and you see Brows and Brows 2. Then I can take the red scrub bar, pull it to 100. You see that's moved, and then I can click on my brows. And then I can make whatever adjustments I want to make. Now, both of those got selected because of the way I drew them with that blob brush. So, for starters, I guess, since I've got it laying down here to the left, I could just go ahead and pull the brows down. I'm going to click on Main Timeline here, double click that. I'm going to test it. And then I'm going to, let me reset that bone, and click on Brows 2. Go out to frame 100. And perhaps for going to the right, I may actually do something a little fancier with the eyebrows. Click on Brows here. And then I'm going to have to select them individually. So I'll click on Select Points and highlight that. Let me try something like this. Again, this isn't exactly what you have to do. It just depends on what you want to end up with. So in this case, from center down to the right, the brows are going to do kind of a worried look. I'll click on the main timeline again, double click, click on the top bone layer of the character, and test this. So to the left, I have brows going straight down, and then to the right, I've got worried brows. Next, let's do the eyes to the left and to the right. Double click on the main timeline. Make sure that you're there. Click on the top level bone of your character. Choose the Add Bone. Again, I forgot to deselect this bone. So there we go. Got that deselected. And let me see. Well, I'm kind of running out of room here just on my screen. And next I'm going to make a bone for eyes left and right. So bone, make smart bone dial, and I'll say eyes LR, I guess, and click OK. And then down here in the timeline, go to 100. So this is going to be my eyes to the left. And click on the folder for iris and pupils. And then click on the Layer Transform tool. And I'm going to hold my Shift key down just so I make sure that I drag straight across. And I'll go just to hide the one eyeball here a little bit. And that's it. It's done. You see? And then back to the main timeline. Now I'll go over to, let's see here, click on the main bone. I like to test. Good. Okay. And then eyes LR2. This one will go to the right. And so click on the folder for the iris and pupils. Click on the Transform Layer tool. I'll hold my Shift key down again. And that's pretty far. There we go. And then back to the main timeline, double click. Click on the main bone folder. And finally, let's test. Going to the left, going to the right. Now for eyes up and down, this one's easy too. Double click the main timeline just to make sure that you are kind of back at square one. Choose your top level bone, deselect any bones you may have selected. Let's see here. Okay. And add another new bone. And right next to that, I'll put, bone, make smart bone dial, and it's going to be eyes, UD, up and down. And click OK. Again, we're going to start out with the first one and go to frame 100. Click on the folder for iris and pupils. Click on the transform layer, and this time we're going down. So I'll hold my Shift key down so that I stay straight. And I guess I'll go about that far just to hide a little bit of the pupil. Again, back to the main timeline. And then, let's see, I'll test. Good. Back to the main timeline. And then eyes up and down number 2. Double click that. Go to the frame 100. You see it's to the right. Click the folder again for iris and pupil. Choose the transform layer, and this time we're going up. Okay. Click on main timeline. And back to the top bone folder. Manipulate bones. Let's see how we did. Looking down, looking up. The beauty of this now is that you can have a little upward movement with a little sideways movement. All right, or down. Okay, while the lids are even partially closed. Now let's see. Back to main timeline. Everything's reset. We've got our pupil dilation is the last one. So let's deselect this bone here. And make sure I'm at the main timeline. Make sure I'm at the top level bone for the character. And choose Add Bone. Let's see, we've got pupil dilation. Well, I'll put that right here. Bone, make smart bone dial, and we'll say pupils and click OK and go to frame 100. And since it's going to the left first, that means we'll probably need to make them a little bit smaller. So we need to open up this folder because we need to just click on pupils only. And then click on the Transform Points tool. Now the problem is if I grab both of these together and try to resize, it's kind of a pain. It's just going to resize them together, meaning they're going to drift all over. So instead, I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and while I do that and click and drag, it's going to drag towards the center and make it smaller proportionally. And I'm going to have to guess at the next one. So there you go. And that I could have done more. I'm going to leave it at that. Go back to the main timeline just to reset. And then I'll click on Pupils 2, double click. Go to frame 100, and let's see. Now we're going to have to dilate these quite a bit. Again, I'll hold the Alt key down so that when I pull, it's going to enlarge them proportionately. Same for this one. Nice and big. And go back to main timeline, double click. Click on the top bone layer and choose the Manipulate Bone tool to test. So to the left, pupils getting smaller. To the right, very big. Okay? And if we move them now, you see, because we put the iris and the pupil in as a group when we did this, then we don't have to worry about some problem with dilating pupils that are not moving consistent with the iris. Alright, I'm going to stop this one and then we'll just have one more short tutorial in the series.